We got a lot of Transformer stuff to talk about today. 3 brand new first looks of brand new Transformer product in 2024. And we're going to jump right into it here on the Transformer Slag podcast. And the first one we're going to cover comes courtesy of comicbook.com on our Transformer Tuesday today. And it's that of the Transformers Generations comic book figures. This is going to be a line of Transformer toys where they repaint previously released figures, give them Marvel comic book accurate coloring, give them some new accessories, a beautiful Marvel comic book inspired box. It's just, this speaks to me so much. And one of them is my boy, one of my favorite Decepticons of all time. So let's jump into it. So the first one we got here is the Transformers Generations comic book edition Shockwave. Man, again, Shockwave is easily one of my favorite Decepticons of all time, and this one encompasses what made me love Shockwave all those years ago, 30 years ago, more than that almost at this point. And it's a box that features the famous Mark Bright cover, Transformers number 5 from Marvel, that famous Transformers Are All Dead cover. It's a open flap. On the inside, it has even more about Shockwave and who he is. It comes with the Leader Class Siege Shockwave figure, but because it's been stripped down of all those extra pieces that were not necessary from the Siege version, it actually makes it more of a Voyager price point, but there's extra stuff included. It's just great. It's just absolutely great. I don't even know where to begin with this one. I'm just so happy with it. So they took that Siege one, they gave it that coloring like that Mark Bright cover. Looks so good. Looks so good. And then it gives an extra accessory. But not just any extra accessory. They actually have an accessory which is Optimus Prime's dismembered head on that little platform from back in issue number 5 when he cut off Optimus Prime's head, put him on life support, and had him inside the Ark when they took over. Great stuff. I don't even want to talk more about that. Go back and read that 40-year-old comic book. That whole run is just amazing stuff with Bob and and everything like that. So, fantastic figure. Obviously, the way that they sell it in here is, it's the Cybertronian spaceship. But we all know how we're going to flip that one the other way and have it the correct way. I know what Hasbro's doing there. So, it looks great. This one's fantastic. So because they stripped away all the extra pieces that would have been the Siege Leader class, they're able to kind of now price this lower, which is pretty cool, at a lower MSRP price point of $39.99, and you get the extra stuff too. Looks fantastic. Super stoked about that. And again, the plan release for this is that it's going to be the summer of 2024 in mass retail. Not a web exclusive, not a store exclusive, mass retail. So pretty hyped for that. No pre-orders yet, but I'm pretty sure they'll be dropping very, very soon. And then we have the next one here, which also, this one here is very important in a lot of different ways. So we have here the Transformers Generations Comic Edition Grimlock. So it takes the Studio Series 86 Leader Class Grimlock, that coveted figure that everyone is paying way too much for, and they give it the continuing tradition that started with the Masterpiece MP09X King Grimlock, which giving it the Marvel comic book colors and including a crown with it. But it comes with more than just a crown. Not only do you get those awesome comic book Marvel accurate colors, not only does it come in a box that once again is a Mark Bright cover. This one was actually done with Mark Bright and Kyle Baker back in the day, issue number 8, the first appearance of the Dinobots from Marvel Comics. Not only does it come with that, not only does it have that open flap and it shows the Savage Land, which I'm pretty sure they're not going to acknowledge because that's Marvel, but all of that great stuff, but it also comes with a bunch of extra accessories. Now, we mentioned the crown. Yeah, that's a given. You know, a lot of Grimlock toys now are starting to come with crowns. But it also comes with his blaster. That came with the Studio Series 86, his dual blaster. But he also comes with 3 swords. And those 3 swords, each one of them, has a little bit of a origin going on there, because he comes with Grimlock's sword, he comes with Sludge's sword, and he also comes with what I could make out comparing it to the others, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that looks like a different interpretation of Slag's sword. Obviously without that little Thundercats kind of hilt going on there. And I have a theory with this, that these molds for these swords, they're completely on a different sprue, and I think we're going to see more of these in the future, potentially with a Swoop figure, where we're going to get Snarl and Swoop's swords packed in with something else. We're probably going to see these molds throughout different kinds of releases, and this Grimlock here is just the beginning of that and letting us know that these exist. But if you want a little accessory pack and a cheaper way to get that leader class Grimlock, you pick up this one here, $59.99. Also has that summer 2024 release date. Looking really hype, very fantastic, and a hell of a lot cheaper, and you get a lot more stuff that benefits not only your Grimlock, but all the other Dinobots that you have up to this point from Studio Series. Very, very cool. And the last thing we're going to cover, this one comes courtesy of IGN News, and this is another big one. We get our very first look at Transformers Legacy United Leader Class G1 Triple Changer Sandstorm. So this is our very first Leader Class Autobot Triple Changer. We've had our Decepticons get the run of it. Now we got our first Autobot, and it's that of Sandstorm. Long overdue. It's been a while since he's gotten a good updated toy, since that Thrilling 30 Generations one. And it's an interesting choice visually what's going on here. And I feel like, again, it's one of these cases where they're going to do something with this character later on in probably a Studio Series fashion or whatever. And this is just the first iteration of it. So we'll start with first how they sell it in. 7.5-inch figure, has a robot mode, Dune Buggy mode, helicopter mode like the traditionally Sandstorm has been. Comes with 2 blasters, a rifle and a blaster, and the rescue stretcher, which we'll get into in a moment. It's the accessory that's included, but I think there's something, deeper into why that exists. So when we look at the robot mode, we have something that clearly, when you look at the Generation 1 animation model, when you look, which was done by Fleur O'Deary, when you look at the Generation 1 1986 toy, the robot mode, and you could see what they're trying to pull from to make something there. Because, and this has always been an issue with triple changers, it's, one mode is going to suffer in order to make the other two kind of work. And yeah, the backpack is pretty crazy on this one, this leader class, but to be fair, the original had a crazy backpack, so it's always been a problem with that design. And it's them going, like, how could we do the Fleur O'Deary animation model and do that justice while still trying to pack all that on? And there's a mixture of a lot of stuff going on, because, I mean, it's tough to do the Fleur O'Deary design. The problem is that the animation model of Sandstorm took a lot of liberties looking at the original toy. What happened was, and this is speculation, but what happened is the reference that they had for this toy didn't have any of the stickers or paint deco on it. So the final product, if you look at the animation model and even like the alt modes and stuff, it has no details of the Dune Buggy mode, and the robot mode carries that over too. And then when you look at the helicopter mode, it looks like it's almost a completely different character and or toy in a lot of ways. And the way that the head sculpt was done, and has that weird, unique kind of hatch on the top, it was just how Fleur O'Deary interpreted how that head design is, where if you actually zoom in on it, it's completely different. It has more of a Gundam-esque kind of head that should be kind of separate and pivoted. But they kind of tried to find a middle ground using that Fleur O'Deary design, but still painting in the details that were lacking on the animation model, giving that hooded kind of head sculpt to it. But then when they go with the actual face itself, they didn't go with the more normal kind of face that the animation model had, and of course the comic book even. They went with kind of a fusion of the two, which also does something that the toy had. So a battle mask, if you will, with blue eyes. So it's an interesting interpretation of how they fused it all together. And at a leader class price point, meaning they had plenty of budget to kind of twist and turn, it is quite interesting what they ended up doing there. We'll get into a moment the weapons and accessories because it also relates to the alt modes, but we'll just get into the Dune Buggy mode. Now, the Dune Buggy mode, again, looked at the animation model and saw, oh, there's like a roll cage for the engine bay in the back. And so they kind of wanted to maintain that kind of idea because the original toy didn't have that. The original toy didn't have the roll cage on the back. It really was kind of its own thing. And so they kind of did this fusion of let's put the roll cage there, but still keep like the details that existed in the toy itself, because obviously those stickers and details and everything in paint were lacking on the animation model. So they, again, a fusion of the two. And you get that roll cage and they go, okay, how are we going to use that roll cage later on? So that roll cage then becomes an accessory for the robot mode where it becomes this like cage/rescue stretcher that the character could haul in the copter mode, or it could be used as like a weapon or something. It could swing around like I guess like some kind of mace. I don't know. But it is interesting how they decided to do that with the Dune Buggy. And it's a difficult one because, again, it's a very weird way that this character transitions from one mode to the next, and the details that were lacking from what was provided models to make the animation model from the toys. It's very weird. When you get into the copter mode, this is one too where it's like they're very much leaning onto the original Generation 1 toy, the 86 figure with the copter mode. And you could just see it in the proportions and the details. They try to keep some of the aspects of the animation model, but not much. This really is more, this is pretty much the Generation 1 toy in this case. And that's what I'm pulling away from all of this when you look at it from front to back, is that while there is sculpting in detail that suggests the animation, this really is more, what if you got your Sandstorm toy, this is going to be the G1 toy version. And we're probably going to see later on in, say, a Studio Series 86 or whatever, a new face sculpt and everything like that. It'll have a more animation-styled kind of color scheme, animation-styled kind of face, and everything like that. The last thing I want to cover is just the two guns that he comes with, which is a nice touch, too, is that both guns are nods to the original toy. One of them is, again, a nod to the original toy, and the black gun that it comes with is sculpted very similar to that, but it has the little tip for the blast effects. The second gun that he comes with a smaller blaster, is a throwback to the animation model, where he had a small little kind of like whitish gray kind of blaster too. So you get a little bit of both in that with the two guns provided. Very interesting though. Again, I feel that if you're excited about this, but you're someone that wants more animation accurate as opposed to screen accurate, it's pretty clear that we're going to get something else out of this later on. I feel that this is the toy version, 86 G1, and we're going to get animation version at some point later on in the future. And but yeah, it is a very interesting twist, and that's why I post so many like images in comparison here, so you can get an idea of what's going on. But it still is pretty cool. They don't have a release date announced. It's going to be the typical leader class price point of $54.99. And the assumption is that this is probably going to be in that April 2024 Wave 2 Legacy price point. Now we continue more putting pieces into our Legacy United listings here, and we're slowly getting to the end. We have one more leader class we still have to see, which is that Soundwave. But pretty awesome stuff otherwise. Very excited about all of this. Let me know what you think. But my goodness, we have so much more to talk about because we even got some emails from Hasbro Marketing Direct recently. Those will probably be popping up on the different websites in the near future. And we'll talk about it here also on the Transformer Slag podcast this week. So stay tuned for that. Great stuff going on. We'll talk to you in the near future.